Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Real Estate Pros Podcast. I'm Mike Stansbury. Today I got a special guest, Mr. Matt Stout. How are you, sir?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today. I'm excited.
Man, it's great
Love
to
what
be
you're
here.
doing.
Yes, sir. We're having fun. Before we get into Matt Stout and how he can help the real estate community out there, we're going to talk about Investor Fuel. Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their businesses to allow them to build the businesses they've always wanted and to allow them to live the lives they've always dreamed of. Matt, out of Salt Lake City, Utah, I always want to know this, actually. What is your origin story in real estate? What were you doing before real estate? What made you pivot to this yellow brick road of industry? And we'll talk about what you do now, but kind of paint a picture there for us.
Well, I've always been in it. I've been a mortgage broker 31 years. I was a pizza delivery guy, putting door hangers on people's doors at age 20, trying to get them to do refinancing. And finally graduated to not delivering the pizzas anymore, but just focusing on the loans. And then shortly after that, I realized how easy it is to use other people's money to invest in things. And since I didn't really have any money, I just focused on that and learned to leverage and buy again, practice without knowing it, the BRRRR method. Managed to acquire a little over, 6 properties with none of my own money, and, used all the home equity loans and refinancing and things that I've learned along the way as a mortgage geek to show people how they can do it for themselves. And that's been what I've always been passionate about, is just showing people how they can acquire more wealth without having a lot. So.
Okay. But take me back to pizza delivery guy, Matt Stout. And so take me, what was what enticed you to get into mortgages? Was it a friend? Was it you saw you read a book? What
It was 1993. Interest rates had just fallen below 7% for the first time, probably ever, at least at any time anybody could remember. And I would my friend worked graveyards at Kinko's, and we'd sit around and drink beer and talk about things we should do with our lives. And there was on the cover of Time magazine, top 10 most, successful businesses you could go into, and that was number one. And we figured, well, why not? So, we back then you didn't need licensing or anything. It was just the Wild West. So,
1993. You had a lot of things going in 1993. You had the Seattle scene, right? You had the grunge music, and then you had interest rates under 7. And this is the fun story: Kinko's and pizza and beer and a friend, and you're like,
"Hey, until you make it, man." That's what I've always done. So, and I did. I messed up a lot of deals when I was first learning how to do mortgages. So, but you eventually learn your ropes, and there was nobody to help you because rates were so low. Everybody was super busy. They didn't want to take on a newbie, and so you just kind of learned as you go. And It took me about 10 years to get my groove on, just as a mortgage guy. And I did the Burr method over 20 years, what you could do in 5, because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't even know
Right.
that's what it was.
Right.
But just with the tools I had, just, home equity loans, refinancing, I would buy one, buy another one, refi the old one. Um, and now I'm really fortunate. I've been able to connect myself with some of the leading short-term rental property finders in the country, and we're helping people do the same thing. They're actually, it wasn't my idea, but some of the people I work with decided to call it the STR method. So,
The stir. I love it.
yeah, over at STR Insights, I work a lot with those guys, Kenny Bedwell and their crew, finding properties. I'm just the lender. They just refer me stuff, but and they're doing the same thing, taking properties, rehabbing them, turning them into mini resorts, and pulling equity out, buying another one.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Okay, would love to hear about that. So let's talk about like how you pivoted. So you're still doing regular mortgages, but now you have a niche. When did the niche happen, and how did that whole relationship start with those folks? And kind of walk us through the origin story of that, and maybe how that relationship helped you meet more people to do more of these luxury type Airbnb or short-term rentals.
Well, I've always kind of done it all with mortgages, and then I bought my first short-term rental during COVID, like everybody else, and realized that the lenders out there that even knew what they were, had options, just were terrible. There just wasn't really any way to get a loan that focused on that. Lenders couldn't use that kind of income. And I figured, well, I'd done it all. I might as well figure out how to do these, because I could see there was some, like 2 or 3 originators that were doing it. And they seem to be doing pretty well at it. So I just kind of, same thing, fake it till you make it, figure it out, and after about 3 or 4 years of that, I was able to really, identify the best, because I'm a broker, so we can use anybody, and went through the list of lenders that say they can do it and narrowed it down to the top 5 or 6 that really can do it, because most of them can't. Most investors tell you they can use short-term rental income, but it's a farce. It's they're going to want a pound of flesh that you can't give them, but that it is kind of more from there, because I'm really I've always been passionate about helping people succeed, and giving people the keys to their first home and their first STR is just kind of, I don't know, it's rewarding, and I like doing it. So.
Yeah, that's great. It's always neat to help somebody realize the benefits of real estate investing, and especially in the short-term rental space, because it's still relatively new. We're 8 to 10 years in, I think. When did Airbnb really get it real greasy? And I can't remember when they become.
Well, I think it was 2010 when it sort of became a thing, but and it's morphed from there. It's still morphed. I mean, it's hard. It's interesting what it'll become over the next 5 years, even.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So let's go off in the weeds a little bit just for fun. It's like, tell us a couple of these luxury Airbnbs, maybe yours personally, or maybe something that you funded that was super cool, and why it wouldn't work traditionally, and maybe how you guys were able to either help them with the funding of it and make it, a hard asset. Kind of give us a story there. I'll let you choose your own adventure, Matt.
Yeah. Well, let me see if your system will let me share my screen. That might be easier to show you rather than...
Yeah, show and tell time. I think it may allow you to do that.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Here we go. So this is the first property I bought during COVID. And like most people, I made the mistake of buying what I wanted, what I would think is an awesome short-term rental. And while I'm in the top 5% and I'm crushing it compared to my competitors, this is just an average property for Airbnbs as far as they go now. I didn't know that then. I just assumed that because it was the only 3-bedroom and it was in a most pristine beach in St. Augustine, Florida, that it was just going to crush it because I love that area. I live in Salt Lake. I hate the snow, so I figured it would do well year round, which it doesn't because it's too cold in North Florida. But it's still a good property. I'm still, like I said, I'm still doing really good with it. But I had to evolve because when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing. My photos were terrible. I didn't know how to be a host. I had all these issues that I had to work out, by like a lot of people through trial and error.
Sound like 1993 again. It was just a remix.
Yeah, and what this really taught me, as far as like what you said, what was difficult about it? Well, back then there wasn't really anybody using things like AirDNA to qualify. And at the time, it didn't matter to me much because I have the income to qualify other ways. But it was interesting because it's also a short-term, an HOA and a condo project that allows short-term rentals, which isn't allowed by a lot of lenders. And so I had to do a little bit of creative searching just to find a traditional lender that didn't care. And that was interesting. But since then, what's unique about things now is that we have investors that'll use AirDNA, for example, and we could have just taken the income from that property and used that to qualify without any personal income. There were probably 1 or 2 lenders doing it back then. Not that I knew about them because I wasn't even into it that deep then. But now there's a few that are doing it well. But there's still few and far between. A lot of them want to have a history or other things that you can't get, especially on a new purchase. But that's the first one I did. I've got a couple others I'm working on now. I'm building some cabins down by Zions National Park right now. Those will be a numbers buy, not an emotional buy. And that's what I've learned to caution people of. Don't just buy something because it's what you want. It's where you want to be. It's got to stand on its own feet with the performa, and just on the performa alone. If it's going to make money, you're not going to want to go use it.
Right. Yes. That's what some people, and so that's why, but every real estate investor always makes the mistake. We tell each other, they don't make emotional decisions ever. And then we make emotional decisions. I can't, as a fix and flipper myself, I've been doing it for a long time. I tell all my students, I tell people that I coach, that I've talked to about this, it's like, hey, stick to a lane. But every now and then I see this deal and it's on 10 acres and it's a crazy deal and I get it at a good price and it's going to be a long rehab. And I'm like, yeah, I want to do that. And I do it and I hate it because I did it on emotion. I don't hate it at the time, but later on I realized I didn't follow my own rules.
Well, and it's hard because you get deep into these. I mean, time-wise, you spend, like the cabins I'm building near Zions National Park right now, same thing. I mean, the numbers work. The ROI is awesome. The cash flow is awesome. I've got the comps. I've got everything. But it's like, it's going to really drain everything to make that deal happen. And then you realize you're so deep into it, so much time. I mean, I've been working on this for over a year and a half. And I'm just about to break ground. And you're like, do I throw all that away because there's easy deals out there right now? And It's hard.
Yes.
Because there's really, we have an opportunity right now that we haven't seen since 2008, where property values are, just low enough that people are starting to get desperate. People are starting to take those lowball offers. I'm seeing it every day as a lender, and I'm in that same boat. Well, I'm kind of emotionally tied on this deal in Zion's, and while the numbers work even, and it's a great deal, I'm a year out from even
Right. Starting to cash
realizing
flow.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I could be buying properties right now that are, turnkey that people just want to get rid of because they're scared.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Yes, I saw this and just in real time. We love. I know you love. You were in St. Augustine. We've been looking at the Panhandle, and I got a buddy of mine who owns property around Santa Rosa, and he was telling me like just in the little town of Santa Rosa, there's 1,400 houses up on the market, and a lot of them were people that were going to do short-term rentals. And,
Yeah.
and that market got saturated really quick, and it's a number you got to do. They may have, I don't know why they bought. I'm assuming they bought because hey, we want to be down there, and that's an emotional thing. But when you have that much competition and you only rent it 30% of the year, then it's not going to be a good little moneymaker for you.
Not unless you're like that property I just showed you in St.
Yes.
Augustine. That's exactly what's happening there. There's over 2,000 properties around mine. It's super saturated. And that's what I've learned is that if you're going to get into STRs, you don't necessarily want to be afraid of markets that are saturated. But if you're going to be in a market like that, like I am, you've got to be the best property there is. You've got to be the destination. You can't expect to make it being average because there's 2,000 other average people sitting there right there. And what's going to happen? You're going to end up giving it away. The only way you're going to price yourself ahead of the competition is to be, to have the best photos, to have the amenity that no one has. Like, fortunately, I have a 3-bedroom, and I put in a game room, and I hired a designer. So just those 3 things with a professional photographer doubled my revenue. That's something that you don't realize. And so if you're going to go into those markets, there are great opportunities there right now. People are not shying away from them, but they're going in there with the plans to add, $50,000 or $100,000 worth of amenities, a pickleball court. I mean, they are the destination. You don't have to look too hard to find them. They're always the top 3 or 4 properties in any market. But if you look at their property, they are the destination. They're not just some average property just because it has, a game room or something.
Yeah, I like it. I have a question about really unique short-term rental properties. There's a guy I follow on X, Isaac French. He did a couple of really cool in I think North Houston. He basically there was a 4-acre lake, and he built 5 or 6 little tiny homes on there, but they weren't really tiny homes. They were just really awesome A-frame looking, luxurious tiny homes, not mobile homes. And I think the whole project that he had was 2.3 million, and then he sold it to somebody for 8. My ask is,
Wow.
He crushed it on there. He's got a really good Twitter feed for some of the unique stuff that he does, and then he finds other unique short-term rentals. But is there lending opportunities for unique properties like that? Do you guys do some of that? Do you guys look at tell us what that looks like? If I came to you with a project like that, what would be the parameters for getting maybe either cashing out or lending on it?
They're not good because the mortgage lender has to have an appraiser, and the appraiser has to compare you to other properties. And if there's no comparables, there's nothing to compare you to. And then there's no way to know what happens if this guy keels over tomorrow and we end up with the collateral and have to resell it. They're not going to sell it to somebody that has the same vision you do. They're not going to sell it to somebody that's, planning on buying it to be another STR resort or whatever. They're probably going to sell it to Joe Mom and Pop who maybe they don't like unique, maybe they don't want to live in a tiny A-frame. So the lender's always going to look at that from that perspective. And while there might be private funding, there's more funding options available if you do things like buying a property that is normal, but it has that potential to add something unique. I got a guy who wants to do a tiny home resort, kind of what you're just talking about. Well, my thought was let's find you something, because I can go up to 20 acres, no problem. Let's find you something on 20 acres in, Luray, Virginia, that's got a house on it that it's worth what they're asking for, right? It's a house, and you can STR that out and make some money, and then maybe put the least amount down and build one tiny home with that extra cash, and then next year build another one, because guess what? That's going to pay for itself, and then
Right.
2, 3, 4 years you're there. Or there's lots of private venture people out there that want to partner up for things like that, but it's nothing that you're going to get traditional financing for.
Right. Well, good perspective, and that just that's a muscle that people need to use anyway. Is try to help them create private money, and so I understand, I get that. I thought that maybe the uniqueness would be a hindrance for regular traditional financing, but wanted to get your
Even dome homes, like I found one in Harper's Ferry, because I have on my YouTube channel, STR Loan Guy, I'm always talking about scenarios and showing examples of real estate financing and how it would look on different deals. And I found this killer dome home up in Harper's Ferry. I mean, it was cool. It had like the wood walls, the panels, and all this stuff. Air DNA pegged it at like 100 grand a year. It was only 400,000, but there's very few lenders that can do that deal, because there's no dome homes that sold yesterday
yeah, that's right.
in that neighborhood. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? There
Right.
might be one in a 20-mile radius if you're lucky. And what is an appraisal? It's a comparison of three similar properties, right? So if you're dealing with more traditional financing where you've got a tax return and pay stubs and stuff, we have a little bit more wiggle room with that kind of thing. Fannie Mae lets us do a statistical appraisal where I can just, throw in the appraiser's data, and it analyzes it, and it comes out with an algorithm that says, yeah, it's good enough. And that's probably going to work on something that's kind of unique, but it's still got to be, a normal house. It can't be a tiny home. There's not even options for properties under 600 feet with most lenders. Fannie Mae has a guideline they've recently developed for tiny homes that they're trying to push. Very few lenders will do it. It has to be owner occupied, but you can do a single wide 400 square foot unit now with Fannie Mae, but it's got to be your house, and so you'd have to be a first time home buyer. I mean, who's going to believe that you're going to move into it if you already own a, big mansion somewhere? So
That's right.
so
I'm downsizing.
So
Yeah.
it's not feasible for an investor point of view.
Right.
Although I have seen people do tiny home developments just by financing, because you can get an RV loan on them, especially if they're on an axle. Same thing. Buy a place that the zoning doesn't care. It's got a house on it. Put a mobile park in the backyard. I had a guy who did this in South Florida, and then he just went down to the tiny home manufacturers and got RV loans on them and rolled them in there.
I like it.
So you can't just say it's not possible, but it's not what you think.
Yep. Yeah, there's always a way, but it's going to take you really rowing through it and trying to find the creative way to do it. So Matt, let me ask you this so where if you had where's a good market now that maybe wasn't a good market a couple of years ago? Are you able to pinpoint those things with Air DNA? But are there some things that are working now that maybe didn't work 3 or 4 years ago with the short-term rentals, or maybe working better?
I'm always a big believer of don't invent the wheel. I've made that mistake a lot in my life, and you're either going to have to do something better than everybody else in a market that's already established, or you're going to have to find a market that is emerging, that there's maybe one guy crushing it and nobody knows about it yet, and then go in there and do it better than that guy. So, can anywhere be a good STR market? Sure. I mean, as long as the regulations allow it, if there's a need for it, and there's there's room to grow. So I think one thing I've seen some of the top people, the way they answer this question is they don't necessarily narrow it down to what market's the best. They narrow it down more into what markets has one or two people that are killing it, that that are only doing they're only average hosts, they're only average properties, and then what would it take to one up them?
Right.
And then and that's easily found. I mean, you can get on all these software providers and find, identify it, just sort it. Like STR Insights is cool because it'll sort it by percentile ranking and just look at the very top 1%. And is it going to be easy to be better than them? Because if they're doing good and it's a market you want to be in, and their photos are terrible and their amenities are average or less than average, then you know that all you got to do in there is go in and do something just a little bit nicer, and you're going to succeed. Now, if you want to go into Sarasota where there's 2,000 other people doing it, that's okay too. But you're going to have to figure out, okay, well, maybe find one that's just not doing well, that has the terrible photos, that doesn't have the amenities, that could easily be that guy or gal with, adding the right stuff. And, there's a market there. You just have to be the one that dominates it. Don't be an average one. That would be my, I guess, best advice.
Don't be average. Just look at it as as something that you're going to be excellent at, and treat it that way, and then you'll get the results. So I like that, Matt. So Matt, let me ask you this: where can people find you on YouTube, on all the socials? What does that look like, Matt?
STR Loan Guy.
Easy peasy, folks.
Yeah, .com or at the end of whatever you want. It's that's what I do. I'd love to work with you. Pretty down to earth. I'm really approachable. I'll spend 30 minutes with anybody trying to show them the ropes. I'm happy to. I started with $200 and a beat up Toyota Corolla delivering pizzas, and I'm now working on my 4th luxury Airbnb, and I just want to see you win.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Matt, let me ask you this. What does life look like in Salt Lake City for you outside of real estate? What are the fun things that you and maybe your family like to do besides, you don't like snow. That's interesting.
No, I get these bumps and I start to shake and my feet go numb and I just can't handle it, No, it's good. We just went down to Zion's. I'm trying to get into the hiking thing. I need to lose some weight. I'm building these luxury cabins down there. I might as well. So I actually did one of my first hikes in Zion's National Park last weekend, even though I've lived here my whole life. And, I'm coming around to the idea. It's pretty cool,
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot to this state that I need to get out and do. And so just, focusing on that. My kids, I've got four awesome kids and an awesome wife, and we're just, trying to keep it all together and, do what we can to keep up with them.
Yeah.
Kids are always a challenge. We're trying to do our best. So.
That's awesome. What are the ages of the kids?
Everywhere from 9 to 22.
Ooh, that's you and I are in this. We were rowing the same boat. I got 4 kids. Oldest is 22. Youngest is 11. So
yeah, every day is Halloween at my house. So.
It's super fun. Yeah. I tell you what, I know. I don't know if this is like the young one keeps me young. It's great that we have a young one in the house. It's still really cool. I feel having older kids and having a young one. I savor the young one. It's kind of that old adage, like you treat the baby like the baby, and they get all the good stuff, and it's true. I mean, it absolutely is true.
I hear you, bud. Do what you got to do, man. Well, thanks for having me. This is awesome. Let me know how I can share this info and send people your way. I'd love to do that.
Yes, sir. Everybody, all the information about Matt will be in the show notes below. So if you need to get in touch with him, I know a lot of our audiences invest in short-term rentals. So utilize Matt's information. Like he said, he'll spend some time with you, find out if he's the right fit for you. Matt, thank you for being on the Real Estate Pros podcast. We will see you next time, everybody. Remember, like and subscribe. Do all the things that the influencers tell you to do. Comment below and share this with a friend that you know would really enjoy this and probably get some value out of it. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.
Heck yeah.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.